Hi everybody, Matt here from Matt Likes Comics, and today I'm doing my response to Allan with his comic challenge this week, top 10 storylines I liked. Now, these are not necessarily the story. I went out of my way to pick storylines that not everybody's going to pick because they're all storylines I just enjoyed, and I loved them so much. Just about every one of these things I've read and reread over the years, and so I'm reasonably familiar with the exception of the one that I'm going to use as a sort of honorable mention. I've only read that twice, but all these books, these storylines are ones that I've just enjoyed so much over the years, and I'm just bringing them out because I don't want to be the guy who's bringing out Hush or the one there, like some of the Alan Moore stuff. They're all great stuff, like Watchmen, etc. I'm just going with the shorter ones that I liked. I mean, like honestly, just about every one of these I read as a kid, and I have to say, comics is probably half nostalgia as well as being half what comes out now, and half, that's three halves if you're counting, half investment and that kind of stuff. First one I'm going to show is Superboy, starring the Legion of Superheroes 221. This is a story that introduces Grimbor the locksmith and Charma, the lady here. Charma's secret power is that all men fall in love with her and want to do her bidding, and all women instantly hate her. I liked this storyline as a kid because it was just a good story. It had all the elements of a good story. You had a great antagonist. You had great great moments where they didn't know what was going to happen because the guy Grimbor managed to use her to chain up all the male legionnaires. And then you have the plot twist where Shrinking Violet is becomes the one to get the men to save the day. And it's just an interesting little story. It's nothing big necessarily to write home about. It's just one I enjoyed very much. Next up, we have Superman 199, which is the first Flash Superman fight. And this is one of my favorite stories ever because the concept is so cool. And I like the way they do it. I like the way it was written. I like the way it was drawn. And I like the way, quite simply, it ended. It ended in a way that only superheroes would make sure it would happen. It's a fixed race, but you know what? It went for charity, and it's a good book. Superman 199. It's so good it ended up being 6 or 7 races when all was said and done, with various results in each race. Now, this next one is one that I read as a kid that I really like. And when I bought this and I read the story, I still really like this. This is Superman 205. Not only is it a cool Neil Adams cover, but the story is that this guy, Black Zero, claims to have been the guy that blew up Krypton, and he's here to blow up Earth in the same way. And Superman is going crazy trying to figure out a way to defeat him. And so Jaxor from the Phantom Zone comes out, offers to help him, promises to be good, and promises to go back when it's done because he wants to get the man who blew up Krypton. This is the first time, by the way, that somebody claimed to be, the one that destroyed Krypton. And they used the name Black Zero later in post-crisis. But anyways, so what happens is Jaxor comes out. He ends up affected by red kryptonite and keeps turning into various snake-like creatures. And in the end, they win because Jaxor turns into Medusa. And I'm sure you can figure out what happened after that point. So there we go. That is Superman 205, one of the most interesting books of the Silver Age. Here we have Conan the Barbarian 16. Now, the story in here is based on the Frost Giant's Daughter, which was the second ever published Conan book. But it is the most commonly published story in various versions in Conan comics. This is the first one, and it is one of the best, with Barry Windsor Smith doing the art and written by Roy Thomas as a adaptation of the story. This is one of the best Conan books, period, of all runs. Even the remakes of these are some of the best books that are out there, particularly the one that came out from Titan not too long ago. Next up, one of my favorite Legionnaire characters is Starboy. I recently got his first appearance, but the book I'm going to show you is a little different. This is Legion of Superheroes 306, and this is Starboy telling his story to another Legionnaire, going on and on because he's disappointed because Dream Girl has been leader of the Legion and she's been ignoring him, and he's being all sad about it, and she's running again, and he thinks that she's only going to run because she knows she's going to win because she can see the future, right? Well, it turns out she actually loses. But Tom, his name is Tom Kalor in real life, he is probably, after Lightning Lad, the biggest hard luck Legionnaire out there. He certainly has been injured a lot more than Lightning Lad, especially one of the more recent Legion stories where he practically has every bone in his body broken. And he's had that happen before. That's outlined in this book. He's the Legionnaire who killed. He is the Legionnaire who's had a lot of bad things happen. Excuse me just a second. We don't need that noise cranking up the video here. So he has been the bad luck Legionnaire that just under Lightning Lad, and I've always felt of him as a kindred spirit. I read his first appearance as a boy, and I always thought he was a great character from that. And then when I read when he killed somebody, I really felt sorry for him, and we would go on from there. Next up, I have Supergirl #1 from 1972. This was a great introduction story for her to get her own series. She's gone back to school. She's going to learn acting. But there's a killer out there who's trying to kill a bunch of people. And one of her roommates, named Wanda 5, who's a bit psychic, helps Supergirl out on this stuff. And then she never appears again in any book. She's not even the roommate by issue 2. I find that interesting. I first read this story in a Supergirl digest. So when I bought this book, I had forgotten this was the book that was the lead to that story, the original print. So I enjoyed reading it. I probably read it 4 times before I finally put it in the bag. Supergirl 1, the Wanda 5 story. That's her name, Wanda 5. Time for a beverage. We don't want to give free advertising. Now, next up is All-Star Squadron Annual 2. This is the climax to a story that goes about 5 regular issues. It brings out Infinity Incorporated for the first time. They are fighting against one of my favorite villains of all time, the Ultra Humanite. And because it's a World War II era, they actually go back and it's so cool that the Ultra Humanite is, not the ape, it's still Dolores Winters. And it's really cool just the way they do this. And of course, you can see Phantom Girl, Green Lantern. You've got Jade from the future here, and Brainwave Jr. fighting his dad, Brainwave Sr. And you've got the other guy here, and then you've got Terry Curtis. Terry Curtis is a great character. He made his first appearance in Action Comics 23 as a scientist with Superman. And he ends up becoming a person called Cyclotron later. And he's a big part of this story. And unfortunately, he passes away at the end of the book. And this is a spoiler for a 45-year-old book. So if you're worried about, but the whole series is worth watching. Basically, what happens is they steal the Ultra Humanite manages to steal a lot of the big, knock out and kidnap a lot of the big heroes like Superman, Batman. And remember, the Ultra Humanite started as a Superman enemy. He hates Superman so much. Next up, DC Comics presents 81. This is Superman and Ambush Bug. Again, this is just one of those silly little books. Basically what happens is, thanks to Red Kryptonite, Superman and Ambush Bug switch bodies. Can you imagine a ridiculously borderline insane person with Superman's powers and Superman's brain stuck in a body where he can't do anything because, he doesn't even know how to use the teleport powers. One of my favorite scenes in this book is they're fighting Cobra, as you can tell by the thing. And Superman is acting weird and unstable because it's Ambush Bug, right? And he says to his guy over the radio, "Pick me up because Superman is buggy." And the next panel, he's going, "Oh no, he knows my secret ID." And it's just, the first time I read that, I was like, not expecting that line at all. And it was just absolutely hilarious. You guys got to give this a read. And following in the same vein, my next one is DC Comics presents Superman and the Legion of Substitute Heroes. This is DC Comics presents number 59. I have talked about this one on many occasions before. It's still one of my favorites. It's just ridiculous how, Superman Ambush Bug can cause so much trouble without being evil. Just nuts, as they say. And the side storyline about Stone Boy is just enough to make you almost want to go to the bathroom in your pants. The next and last full storyline, I have 3 books for it because it's a storyline that I like very much. And I recently reread, which sort of which would probably inspire a video of its own, but at the same time, in order to have a video of that length, I'd have to give away the entire story. So this, starting in Action Comics 318, Action Comics 318, featuring the death of Luthor. Basically, before this, Luthor has, helped a planet, and they named Lexor, which was renamed in his honor. And he's their hero. He escapes prison, goes there, and he comes up with a plot to finally put Superman out of his way. Because he promises his wife, he actually gets married in this issue, he promises his wife he won't kill Superman. He comes up with a plot so that Lexorian law would kill Superman. And this story starts in 318 and goes to 319, which is one of the coolest covers ever, where Superman is being walked down the last mile. Lexor, of course, is on a red sun planet, which means Superman does not have superpowers. Naturally, he manages to wake Luthor up from his coma in time, and Superman does not end up walking the last mile, but does get exiled from the planet. Thus leading to the last one. Things that went on in this issue ended up showing here in Action Comics 544. When Lex returns to Lexor, he discovers he has a son. And Lex is noticing that the planet is getting a little unstable, so he creates this huge rod in order to stabilize the planet from exploding like a Krypton. Now, of course, Superman comes there. Lex has made his new suit. He goes fight Superman up in the atmosphere of the planet, fighting him in the suit. And an energy burst accidentally hits this rod, which ends up blowing up the planet, killing his wife and son. And basically, Superman leaves thinking Luthor was blown up at the same time. Of course, we know Luthor survives. But This adds an even larger version of hate to Luther. And the reason I bring this one up is because it's the complete end of that planet, which means it's the complete end of using it for storylines. There were a couple of other ones in between, but it was almost like and this is 1983, so the crisis wasn't even being thought of yet. They were just coming up with new Luther and new Brainiac to set them up for the Super Friends TV show, because Superpowers was going to be done soon, and they wanted to have these were for toy purposes, but they ended up killing off Lexor in order to do that. So those are my 10. Now, here's my honorable mention. This is Fantastic Four 19 from the last, it's not the current series, but the series before. And I liked it because they wrote it in a noir style that brought back memories of the pulp. You had, Invisible Woman as the woman in the red dress who hires the private eyes, and there's this really cool story, and it's one that I think people should be reading. This is a lot of fun. It's their typical, I was sitting in the bar when suddenly blah blah blah, and here comes the lady, and she's here offering me money and all that other usual stuff that everybody knows and loves. Well, this is one that you should check out. So those are my top 10 favorite storylines. If you want to participate, all you need to do is get some books together, make a video, tag Allan the Comic Collector Geek, tag me. I'd love to watch it. I like seeing what people like. I love it. It gives me an idea. Knowing what a person likes gives you an insight to who they are, and I like that personally. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe below. Please tell me if you've read any of these books and which ones you liked, or if you've read them and didn't like them, that's fine too. I just want to hear from you. Thank you very much for joining me today. My name is Matt. I like comics, and I hope you do too. Bye, everybody.